Today we're going to be talking about Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch.
We know that this is not a new news, but we still have to touch upon it.
We still have to talk about it.
It's the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, Mike Jeffries, appearing in federal court in West Palm Beach. He is one of three men at the center of an FBI investigation accused of running a prostitution and international sex trafficking operation.
80-year-old Michael Jeffries, former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, looked calm, wearing a navy pullover sweater and white pants, leaving federal court surrounded by his lawyers after the judge ruled he could go free on bond while fighting his sex trafficking charges. Prosecutors agree with his lawyers on a $10 million bond secured by a house he co-owns with his wife in Fishers Island, New York.
Feel the vibe, feel the vibe.
It's JEJE VIBE.
It's JEJE vibe. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to JEJE Vibe.
We're back.
Now I got the amazing queen with me.
Thanks, my handsome boo.
Today we're going to be talking about Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch.
We know that this is not a new news, but we still have to touch upon it.
We still have to talk about it. The freak-off shenanigans that be happening in this entertainment industry.
Also go as far as the fashion now.
Which is still in the entertainment industry. So now we're talking about the freak-offs in the fashion industry. Abercrombie.
That store that's always full of the perfume smell at the mall.
Crazy allegations.
Wild allegations.
Abercrombie and Fitch CEO Mike Jeffries. Prosecutors are charging him with trafficking charges, accusing him of sexually exploiting and abusing young men, suggesting that they would be hired as models.
We're here today to announce the arrest and charging of three defendants. Former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, Michael Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson on charges of sex trafficking and engaging in interstate prostitution.
Crazy.
Wild.
Powerful individuals for too long have trafficked and abused for their own sexual pleasure young people with few resources and a dream of securing a successful career in fashion or entertainment. To anyone who thinks they can exploit and coerce others by using the so-called casting couch system, this case should serve as a warning. Prepare to trade that couch for a bed in federal prison.
Prepared
Yep.
to trade that casting couch for a bed in prison. All you deviants.
Yep, because we've been hearing about all this casting couch shenanigans.
Facts. You go in there promising this talent or this people, kids, that they will get a chance to become famous.
Only for you to now sexually assault them.
Crazy. You guys heard it. Be prepared to trade that casting couch for a bed in the federal penitentiary.
The message from today's prosecution is clear. Exploiting vulnerable human beings is a crime, and doing so by dangling dreams of a future in fashion or modeling or any other business is no different. My office and our law enforcement partners will always prioritize standing up for victims, no matter their gender and no matter how powerful the wrongdoers think they are. We will hold them to account. As we allege in the indictment, between 1992 and 2014, Michael Jeffries was the chief executive officer of Abercrombie and Fitch. Abercrombie was a widely known clothing retailer with stores around the world. Aspiring fashion models knew that a place on one of Abercrombie's iconic ads could be the ticket to success in the modeling industry. But while Jeffries was the CEO of one of the most recognizable clothing retailers in the world, he was using his power, his wealth, and his influence to traffic men for his own pleasure. And that if
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Deviants. This is crazy.
It makes you wonder that these so-called CEOs, are you really the business that you guys are managing now? Is it really about the business, or it's something else ongoing?
Like, it's crazy. It looks like it's something else going. I don't know. This is madness. This is way past beyond fashion now, and this is going into another expletive arena. But it's
So I guess before that male model makes his picture into that poster that you see in front of the stores, some things must have really gone. Really?
Crazy.
his romantic partner, Matthew Smith. The charging documents describe in graphic and disturbing detail the violent and exploitive acts these defendants perpetrated, for which they will now face justice in a court here in the Eastern District of New York. So here's what's alleged in the indictment. Jeffries and Smith employed James Jacobson to act as a recruiter to find men. Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he would typically pay them to engage in sex acts with him.
Wow.
Following the tryouts with Jacobson, Smith would often then personally approve whether the men who were selected would meet Jeffries and Smith.
Wow.
The defendants would fly the selected men to Jeffries and Smith's homes
Crazy.
in the Hamptons in New York City, or to hotels around the world in such places as England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's, for the purpose of attending events to engage in commercial.
Wow.
But beyond simply hiring
these
men
kids out
for sex,
Wow.
Jeffries,
they organize. It's an organization.
Wow. These people are crazy. These people are cuckoo, man.
Smith, and Jacobson used force, fraud, and coercion to traffic those men for their own gratification. For example, as alleged, the defendants employed a referral system and an interview process that did not inform the men of the details of the events before they attended.
They're unaware
the full extent
until when they get there.
Wow. This is crazy. Crazy.
Activity that would be required of the men at these events. They caused the men to believe that attending these events could yield modeling opportunities with Abercrombie or otherwise benefit their careers. Smith and Jeffries employed a secret staff to operate these events.
Wow.
The staff ensured that the men signed non-disclosure agreements
They signed
and
it.
handed over their personal items, such as their phones, before the start of the events to maintain the secrecy of these events. The defendants caused the men to believe that not complying with requests for certain sex acts during the events could harm their careers. The defendants pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the events. And they required the presence of staff during the activity and ensured that the men did not leave the events until Jeffries and Smith decided that the sessions were over.
Wow.
Also, as alleged, on more than one occasion, Jeffries and Smith either directed others to inject or personally injected men with an inducing substance for the purpose of causing the men to engage in sex acts the men were incapable of engaging in or unwilling to engage in.
What?
Wow.
Additionally, the indictment alleges on more than one occasion when men did not or could not consent, Jeffries and Smith violated the bodily integrity of these men by subjecting them or continuing to subject them to invasive and violent contact by body parts and other objects.
What?
As alleged in the indictment, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson didn't just carry this activity on for a couple of occasions. Trafficking and prostitution enterprise lasted at least from the end of 2008 until early 2015.
Wow. That long?
During that period, the defendants hired dozens of men and transported them to New York and around the globe.
This is past.
They spent millions
this is
of
way
dollars
past
on a massive infrastructure to support this operation.
The business aspect of Abercrombie now.
This is crazy. 6 years running this deviant nonsense
operation
and maintain its secrecy. This included hundreds, thousands of dollars of cash for commercial, prolific amounts of money for staff to run the segments, money for domestic travel, international travel, hotel rooms, services from a security company, and Jacobson's salary, among other things.
Crazy.
Now, this investigation remains ongoing. Although there are 15 John Does identified as victims in this indictment,
15 victims.
This interstate prostitution venture encompassed dozens and dozens of men.
Wow.
And I encourage anyone with information about this case, including anyone who was a victim of the defendant's alleged crimes, to contact the FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI.
Crazy. Man, this is
worse than Didi's, man, if you think about it.
I don't think we should compare.
Okay.
They're all worse.
But then again,
the casting couch.
But the problem now is that he got granted bail and Didi did not.
This is crazy.
And if you put those two offenses side by side, this is even worse than Didi's.
This is crazy. Like, you're organizing events and having people do this crazy stuff unwillingly or willingly, but they don't even know what they're getting into and they're just signing themselves. Like, this is crazy. This is a crazy operation. And right now, Mike Jeffries is walking around free.
80-year-old Michael Jeffries, former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, looked calm wearing a navy pullover sweater and white pants, leaving federal court surrounded by his lawyers after the judge ruled he could go free on bond while fighting his trafficking charges. Prosecutors agree with his lawyers on a $10 million bond secured by a house he co-owns with his wife in Fishers Island, New York. Jeffries will be fitted with a GPS ankle monitor and restricted to his home on Palm Beach. The indictment states that Jeffries, his life partner Matthew Smith, and an employee of theirs used their power, wealth, and Jeffries' position at Abercrombie to entice more than a dozen young male model hopefuls to attend parties where they were forced into sex.
Mike Jeffries is walking around free.
While the same level of crime, if not more, if not less,
or more, because we get to find out when the trial starts.
Yeah, we get to find out, but nevertheless too, hey, if you're going to be punishing a black man for the same offense, why is the judiciary system granting a white man a bail?
That's
It's
crazy.
unfair.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
How come the former CEO of Abercrombie Fitch, Mike Jeffries, who is fighting similar charges as Diddy, he's out on bail? He's out. But Diddy been denied bail, what? Not one time, not two times. I'm thinking 3 times. But once again, they have similar charges. So to me, help me to understand, is it what they call white man justice, black man grief? So I'm just confused about that. Besides the freak off, they was doing the same thing. But once again, from my understanding, with Mike Jeffries and them, they didn't have no girls come shout and clap your hand. They had all dudes. They was taking advantage of male models. You do the wild thing with me, I do the wild thing with you. I can help you advance your modeling career. They didn't have no women involved. So him and his co-defendant, that's what they was doing. Diddy, I don't know whether it was underage, okay? It could have been, it probably was not underage. But once again, like they hitting Diddy with underage, they hitting him with, basically right now, male, female, rape. So basically, it's similar. And then I know right now they throwing in the equivation, they throwing in the fact that Diddy and them had guns.
So if you're granting him a bail, I think the other person should also get
Yeah,
bail.
the law now should be applied to every goddamn
Everybody.
person. If not,
If the crimes are
what are we doing?
If the crime are just that heinous, then they shouldn't be like they should be in and face just like the
Yeah,
same way you
if it's
guys are
that
doing to me.
heinous, why are you now deciding who gets to be free on bail and who gets to be in jail? Really?
It's crazy.
The indictment follows civil lawsuits alleging the same charges. One of those plaintiffs, David Bradbury.
So today marks a big step forward on behalf of David Bradbury and the other survivors in this action. The arrests this morning serve as a validation in their bravery for coming forward and sharing their stories and experiences, and our law firm looks forward to continue representing all survivors of abuse and ensuring that all parties are held responsible.
Jeffries will be able to go home to his Palm Beach condo tonight. His partner must remain behind bars until marshals take him to New York to be arraigned, and their employee was also arrested in Wisconsin.
It's crazy. So you guys heard it. That's Mike Jeffries. The freak offs continues in the fashion
The freaks
industry.
of the freak
The
offs.
freaks of the freak offs. The deviants that are destroying
The
society.
organized freak offs.
The people that are destroying people's lives
The organization freak
in the
offs.
entertainment industry. This is crazy. Crazy allegations. So we'll see how it plays out. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe. You know it's JEJE Vibe.
Well, how do you now?
See you in the next one. JEJE Vibe. 55.
It's gone.
We're here today to announce the arrest and charging of 3 defendants.
It was a stunning announcement.
Former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, Michael Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson.
The former CEO of one of America's most celebrated brands, Abercrombie and Fitch, arrested along with his romantic partner and a business associate.
Trafficking and prostitution enterprise lasted at least from the end of 2008 until early 2015. They spent millions of dollars on a massive infrastructure to support this operation and maintain its secrecy.
Jeffries, who stepped down from Abercrombie in 2014, is accused by law enforcement of using his power and wealth to traffic and sexually exploit more than a dozen young men around the world, many of them aspiring models. The 16-count indictment includes charges of sex trafficking and prostitution. At the heart of the case, the allegations of 15 John Does.
So it's jaw-dropping and shocking in every twist and turn of this case. We've seen R. Kelly go down on similar charges, and in the Southern District of New York, Sean Combs is facing the exact same charges.
When I saw the charges come down, I said perhaps this is a continuation of the reckoning that I think we are starting to see in this world of arts and entertainment moving forward.
The arrests are relief to those who have alleged in civil lawsuits they were victimized.
What feels like an evil villain continued to use his power to harm a lot of people. And I don't think he feels bad about it.
To anyone who thinks they can exploit and coerce others by using the so-called casting couch system, this case should serve as a warning.
Jeffries and his romantic partner Matthew Smith were arrested in Palm Beach, Florida. Jeffries is now released on a $10 million bond while Smith remains detained. Their attorneys issued identical statements saying we will respond in detail to the allegations after the indictment is unsealed and when appropriate, but plan to do so in the courthouse, not the media. Jacobson was arrested in Wisconsin. He appeared in a Minnesota courtroom and was released on bail. His attorneys declined to comment. Court documents allege the length Jeffries, his partner Smith, and their business associate Jacobson used to lure young men to sex events around the globe, from New York to Europe and Morocco.
This indictment is that these three men would use the allure of a modeling career or being associated with Abercrombie and Fitch to seduce and also allegedly rape many of these men.
Prosecutors said the itineraries for some of the events made no mention of sex and instead resembled those often sent to models for photo shoots. Jacobson allegedly acted as a recruiter for Jeffries and Smith.
Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he would typically pay them to engage in sex acts with him.
The federal indictment alleges that prior to sex events, the John Does were physically groomed, including at times shaving men's genitals without advance notice.
There were two things that stood out to me to the indictment. One, the network that was made and used to facilitate this trafficking, but also the use of drugs to induce erections so that people who could not or would not participate in were forced to do so.
The defendants pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during sex events.
At the sex events, the indictment alleges staff controlled the entry and exit and directed men to wear costumes and use sex toys. Prosecutors claim the victims were sometimes paid for attending the events and forced to sign non-disclosure agreements. It's a staggering fall for the once highly successful CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch.
Mike Jeffries expanded Abercrombie & Fitch from a small apparel store in the United States to a massive enterprise throughout the world.
Jeffries helped turn the brand into a cultural phenomenon.
In the mid to late 90s specifically, Abercrombie & Fitch was everywhere. It was very much giving coastal prep boy energy, very preppy, very country clubby, very much the moment.
Popular among teens, Abercrombie's marketing campaigns in commercials like these, selling sexy images of shirtless men and barely dressed women. Going viral before the word viral was part of the lexicon, and sparking controversy too.
The boundaries were absolutely pushed about what was socially acceptable at that time to get this attention. So what you saw in these advertisements a lot of times were a lack of clothing. It's a clothing brand, but you didn't see a lot of clothing.
The Abercrombie look immortalized in songs like LFO's 1999 hit Summer Girls.
I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch.
Everyone wanted to look like a model at Abercrombie. It was influential in our music, to the way that people dressed and the way that people acted.
Some of the models became Hollywood heavyweights: Channing Tatum, Ashton Kutcher, Jennifer Lawrence, Olivia Wilde, and Heidi Klum.
For an aspiring model to land an ad with Abercrombie and Fitch, I mean, that's kind of the penultimate, especially if you're a young male model. The opportunities aren't as vast for you as they are for your female counterparts.
But the company's sales began to sputter in 2011. Jeffries stepped down in 2014. The brand has also come under scrutiny in the last decade. In a Netflix documentary, White Hot, The Rise and Fall of Abercrombie & Fitch, former models spoke out.
Abercrombie said it wasn't that we were being racially discriminated against, it was that we weren't good looking enough.
In today's criminal indictment, Abercrombie & Fitch is not accused of wrongdoing, but prosecutors allege Jeffries used the potential of an opportunity with Abercrombie to lure young men. When ABC News reached out to the company, it declined to comment. In 2023, the BBC aired a documentary featuring several former models accusing Jeffries of exploiting them.
What happened to me changed my life, and not for the better.
Barrett Paul was one of those who spoke out to the BBC.
As a young person, you tell yourself this is just part of what the industry is.
Paul was a model when he says he crossed paths with Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson in 2011.
Being able to get into a meeting with the CEO meant you had a very good chance of becoming one of the models, and this was the draw. This is why I was an easy person to prey upon.
He claims he was invited to attend an event at Jeffries' estate in the Hamptons. Paul thought it was a chance to audition to be an Abercrombie model.
I was told that there could be some things that were not your normal interview. However, this is your chance. You're not going to get another one like this. And I was given Abercrombie & Fitch underwear to put on. I walked into a scene that would make most people extremely uncomfortable, extremely nervous, scared. There is not just them, but other men in there doing stuff that I was not comfortable with. And then there's other men in there completely dressed in Abercrombie & Fitch clothes.
What happened still haunts him.
I was stripped of what felt like my humanity. I felt like a piece of meat.
For years, he stayed silent. He says he worried speaking out would ruin his career. Now he's part of a class action lawsuit filed last year representing at least dozens who claim Abercrombie's crucial support allowed Jeffries to successfully Barrett, Paul, and numerous others. Jeffries and Abercrombie & Fitch have both denied the claims and filed motions to dismiss the civil lawsuit and the claims made by Paul.
I think that there is no doubt that the criminal case never would have been opened but for our civil lawsuit.
Brad Edwards is one of the lawyers on that civil case.
This is the first trafficking operation that we have worked where the victims were all males and the perpetrator was a male. I think that has led to some of the victims being more reluctant than others to come forward. But I would say every single month, we have heard from more and more victims.
If found guilty, they can face 15 years to life for the trafficking charge and up to 20 years for each one of those counts of interstate prostitution.
The FBI is urging others who believe they are victims to come forward.
We are waiting to hear from you, and we're here to help you.
Paul hopes sharing his story can give others courage.
We are absolutely getting closer and closer to a tipping point where I know more men are going to feel comfortable saying me too. I don't want anyone else to have to go through what I went through.